So today we're going to be taking a little walk around the village, and I'm going to be showing you some aerial drone shots while we talk on the topic. And the topic of today has come from a lot of comments that I've been receiving recently along the lines of one of the reasons this person in particular watches the channel is because they're not sure how a foreigner can live in a Thai village without being like bored and around the certain good points and the bad points of living here. And so I've been thinking about making this vlog for a while to talk you through some of the ups and the downs, the good points and the bad points of living in a Thailand village. And I'd also like to share the story of a woman in a village close to us that became a surrogate mother and didn't get the outcome that she expected. So in my experience, how do foreigners end up in these Thai villages? And I find like a lot of it is not to do with deciding this is where they want to live, this is where they want to retire, and buying a plot or anything like that. It seems to me that in the majority of cases that I'm familiar with, foreigners end up in these villages because they've met their wife, their partner, and that the partner had some land here or comes from one of these villages, and then the foreigner ends up going back there and they end up building on the land. Because that is the way Thai tradition is. Many Thais dream of coming back, living with the family and setting up with the family. So it makes sense, if you are going to live in Thailand and the land is there readily available, that you would come to live in the wife's village. So that's how foreigners end up here in the first place. There are very few I know that have bought land in a village and decided that's where they kind of want to be. It also allows them to integrate into the community quite well too, because they're introduced by the family and the partner, and so they're accepted in the wider community. There are also often family members, or at least that is the way it's set up in our case. And so before we go into the good and bad points of living in a rural Thailand village, I should probably let you know that I don't really consider myself as somebody that lives in a rural Thailand village. Our area is situated very close to a Thailand village, but are we right in the heart of the village in that every time you walk out your door you would see people? Well, you can look around here, there's just nobody here. And around our area there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of, it's not like a busy bustling village. Had my wife's land been situated in the heart of a village with many neighbours and things like that, actually I think we would have bought a new piece of land and moved to that. We actually bought this one, as people know, this farmhouse here, which is also situated with not too many neighbours. That's just our uncle next door here, and nobody lives in this house here. So it's not in the heart of a bustling village, with lots of traffic and shops and things like that. So I don't see us as actually living in a Thailand village, and we're going to get more into that at the end of this vlog. But the lifestyle that we've chosen was nothing to do with living in a Thailand village, and in fact our place could be nestled anywhere in the world, and it wouldn't really make a difference. The lifestyle that we've adopted is not about living in a Thailand village, it's about living separate from people and having our own plot of freedom. Our bubble of freedom is what I call it, but more on that one later. Now obviously some of the pros of living close to or in a Thailand village, if you were actually situated in the village, there's a very big community feel, so you feel part of a community. One example of that might be that there was a big storm the other night and all these trees fell down, and the community all get together and clear that area. You've seen on this channel a lot the parties and the celebrations in the community for becoming a monk, and the weddings and even the funerals to some extent. I'm not saying there's celebrations, but people do get together in that community feel for a loss to the community if somebody passed away. Also, you see all of these roads, there's no like council clearing all this area. This area is cleared and kept clear by the village. I was actually out just a few days ago cutting the trees in our area, which had become quite overgrown. Each villager, or if you're part of the village around your area, you're not just responsible for your zone, but it's seen as good etiquette to be responsible for the road around. And sometimes all the village gets together once or twice a year and we all do a full cleanup of all the roads and move any cut back any brush or things like that. So obviously the community feel here is one of the key benefits of living in a village. The other benefit for me is that a lot of these villages are quite rural, so you don't have heavy traffic, cars. I don't worry about the kids or stuff. You are out in the country, like it is It's beautiful, it's tranquil. If you're a person that likes to be entertained all the time, perhaps not for you, it wouldn't be for you. But for us, in our stage of life with kids and the way our minds work, the way my mind works, is I just enjoy the peace and quiet, and I enjoy the freedom. More than anything for me, this is a question of freedom. This is a question of wake up when you want to wake up, go to bed when you want to go to bed. You have as much time with your family as possible. I keep really busy with my businesses, and then when I do feel the need to travel, I'll often go and shoot a vlog in another location, or I'll take a trip for a few days, either with my wife or my kids or on my own, and get away. But nearly always I'm eager to get back here because I just feel it's my place of peace and freedom, and if I could choose anywhere else on the planet, I wouldn't choose anywhere but here. I often talk to my son and I said, our cottage, our place is priceless to me. It's you couldn't put a number on it. If somebody offered me 10 million baht for it tomorrow, I wouldn't accept the offer, because it's just, there's certain things about it that are just irreplaceable to me. Its location, it's away from everybody, it's comfortable, it's built custom to how we want it, so that to me is priceless, and so I wouldn't change it for anything. The fact that it is in close proximity to a small village is a positive, I feel. I think the village lifestyle brings more positives than it does negatives. However, there is some problems here which we are going to get into. And so going into the negatives, we've talked a lot about these on the channel already, so I'm just going to touch on some of them briefly. Feeling like an outsider in the village. A lot of foreigners seem to report this, feeling like an outsider. Maybe I don't have that same experience because here is mainly Damo's family. So I mean, even right now I'm walking past her uncle's house. We got our auntie's shop down here. Everybody's related, so, and they don't see me in this village as foreigner anymore. Probably in the first 3 years they did, but I feel that things have changed recently in that they don't treat me like any kind of outsider here. In fact, I'm not even acknowledged as I walk past. 3 years ago, when I walked past, people would be like, "Hey, they're right, it's Ryan." Here, I'm just a nobody, which is exactly how I want to be, because that makes me feel integrated into the village. Then also, many foreigners do tell me that they feel a lack of privacy. So if you did live more into the heart of the village, which is where we're going now, then maybe there is a lack of privacy. Maybe people are always knowing what you're doing, and they're nosy and interested in what you're doing. Hi Al, waddy cap. Maybe people are interested in what you're doing, and of course gossip around the village travels very fast. So I think it's best to maintain as much privacy as you possibly can when you first move into a place. You know, anything you say will go around the village very fast. Anything you do will go around the village quite fast. So if you have a drunken evening or do something stupid, or I'm trying to think of an example, like if you were seeing somebody on the side or something like that, the village would know about it. And so there is the issue of privacy here in the village. There is the problem of the noise, which we've covered in another vlog. So sometimes dogs barking, sometimes parties going on late. I can't say for us it really bothers us, but if you were in the heart of a village as a foreigner, I think it would bother you. I have shown recently on the other channel as well, sometimes the problem with dogs. As you can see here, this lady was attacked by one of the dogs, and this happens a lot. Sometimes I've friends that have had problems with dogs killing their cats or killing their chickens, and then the owners will often not do anything about it. It's like there's no obligation to sort your dog out. Whereas in the West, obviously that would be illegal. You are responsible for your dogs. So that is often another problem with living in the village. And then there are certain like social expectations to join in with the celebrations. Like maybe you would be seen as somewhat antisocial if you don't join in with them all. Or it would be rumoured, why doesn't he join in? For me, I have a good excuse because the village know that I don't drink. I think the real reason I don't join in with every celebration, of course I take you guys to many of them, so I probably join in with about 70%. But I think the main reason that I don't join in with all is that I'm more of a conversationalist, so I prefer to chat with people and to talk with people. the banging music for me, like I think if you're like on Loud Cow or you were drunk, it'd be more fun. But the banging music for me is just like not fun, not as fun as it is for many other people. So there are some social obligations, perhaps, of living in a village. At the end of the day, you are part of the community, and it is important to show your face and do things for the community. For example, we donate to the local school here. I'm not going to go into all the things that I do here in the village because it makes me seem like I'm virtue signaling. When you do something in the village, you're mentioned on the loudspeaker, so you can hear your name on the loudspeakers. Like, okay, Kun Ryan did this for the school, or and of course we have our yearly Christmas party, and it involves presents for all of the kids, a bouncy castle. You guys have seen it on the channel. That is probably one of our biggest contributions to the village, and often those presents are things that the people in the village need. So we try to buy stuff that people really need, you know what I mean, and not always just junk. I mean, there's some junk thrown in there. So this is the village, the central village, and one thing I was thinking about doing, to be honest, is you see this is the equivalent of the village pub. I was thinking about like pimping it up or something, because it's a communal area where everybody uses. I was thinking of ways that maybe I could, develop it in some way. I don't know, you guys have to use your imaginations here. But because people sit here all the time, so I just thought about, I could spend some baht on making this kind of a more comfortable communal area. It's comfy at the moment. I'm not sure what I would do. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but when it comes to like donating in the village and things like that, I'm always quite cautious, because what I found in the past of living in Thailand now 15 years, in the early days, if I give somebody 1,000 baht, which was as a loan or something like that, you were then kind of expecting it back, and maybe you would ask, oh, have you got it yet? And then it becomes this uncomfortable pressure where the person doesn't have it because they didn't have it in the first place to even spend it. And that kind of turned into kind of giving money and not expecting it back. So this is with close friends, not just randomers, but like, oh, here's 1,000 baht, and don't worry about it, that kind of thing. But then what I found with that is sometimes, not all the time, that can turn then into expectation. So you've given once, like maybe a couple months later, they say, oh, can I borrow another 1,000 baht, and then you've given them. So you have this weird predicament where the charity becomes an obligation. I'm sure many of my subscribers have been through very similar things. And so you're in this predicament where you want to give and you want to help, but you also don't want to then be kind of in a relationship where you're committed to do so. And so for me, I find it's better to give communally. So either you put in some fans in the school, or like I was saying, this communal area here, putting something here that enhances community life, and then that doesn't become like an obligation to a particular individual, and more so it becomes just a good thing that you've done for the community. You don't see hunger here in the village. You don't see, it might look to the Western audience that there's like crazy, I live amongst poverty and Yaba and alcoholics and things like that. There's no serious hunger poverty here. Like, for instance, recently I was watching a documentary on Sierra Leone where they're all on this kush drug, and basically they're all stuck and they can't get off it, and there's hunger and there's really intense poverty there. That's poverty in my opinion. In comparison to this Thailand village, they all have something to eat. There's the temples here if they need somewhere to sleep. There are no people sleeping on the streets here unless it's out of pure choice at certain times in the day. This drug addiction, I did comment actually, I left a comment on that video, and I said the issue is not kush, it's not the drug addiction. The issue is poverty. Poverty leads to drug addiction in many cases. Somebody actually responded back to me and said it's stupidity actually, which I thought was quite a heartless and ignorant comment, ironically quite a stupid comment, because the data shows that there is a very significant correlation between poverty and drug addiction. And so actually, in many cases, what you find is if you bring people out of poverty, you can address the drug addiction. But I think it's just too complex an idea for some people to grok, and they would prefer to think that it's just stupidity that drives people to addiction. Now, saying that, there are elements of poverty, and there is scales of poverty, obviously, here in rural Thailand, and some people are like on the breadline. They can't even afford a shot here at the local shop for 10 baht of some rice whiskey, and so they're living on the edge. You know what I mean? They spend their last 10 baht on the shot there of rice whiskey, and obviously for some it's that scale of poverty that's driving the addiction. And so is addiction a problem here in the village of onto rice whiskey and alcoholism? Of course it is. I mean, it's a well-known fact that the one of the major problems in the village is people are addicted to alcohol. The farmers use it to help them get through the day. But I would say if you go to my hometown in Bolton in the UK, you walk around the streets, you find a lot of people that are addicted to Strongbow cider. A lot of people day to day, even at every echelon of society, addicted to having 2 bottles of wine a night. So does it make a difference to me, as this comment said, how do you live amongst the alcoholics and things like that? No, I mean, I find that they're very friendly drinkers. They are jovial. There's no violence here that happens, and so it's not a big problem to me in that way. But then also this commenter mentioned Yaba as well, so I don't actually see any of that here. It does happen. There's usually like late at night you have like one person drifting through that's on the Yaba. I think it's an epidemic in some areas of Thailand as well, and across Thailand, so it is a big problem. But I think also in the States you have a problem with fentanyl, you have a problem with meth and things like that, and in Australia there's a problem with it as well. I think that the problem might be amplified here because of what we were talking about in terms of poverty. Poverty amplifies the addiction. Because obviously these people, if they've got no prospects for the future, they've got nothing they're looking forward to in life, the only thing they can do is kind of drink to numb the pain, that sort of thing. But generally the attitude here, and I can say this sincerely, and I can only speak from my experience in this village, the general feeling is positive. And there's a camaraderie here, and there's a subtle happiness here in the simplicity of the farming life. Everybody is chatty, and which is something maybe we've lost in some communities in the West. Neighbours at certain points in the day, not this point in the day because it's quite hot, but we'll get together and they'll chat, and there's a community feel there, and they set up their little stalls and stuff, and they make whatever money they can in the moment. Overall atmosphere for me is positive. And so on to the kind of deeper stories that at first when I heard about this, I didn't believe it. So at first I thought, no, that can't be right. But then I did a little bit more digging on it, finding out about the particular story, of which I'm not going to mention any specific details, of course, and looking online at some other relevant stories. So the first one is onto surrogacy. So in some rural villages in Thailand, people that can't have children are coming to the poorer communities and using them as surrogates. And this is actually documented in the online press as well. So this is what I discovered later when I heard the story from the village near here. I went to research and I found this information. What will happen is they use the poorer communities to have the baby, and then they take the baby obviously away. And this, I mean, it happens in the West, of course, as well. My issue with it is this particular story that I heard from a nearby village is the woman was a surrogate for a couple, and she, when she was pregnant, because of the addiction, which we've discussed already in the link with poverty, she was just drinking lao khao throughout the whole thing. So she was just on rice whiskey throughout the whole pregnancy. And so obviously that's some damage to the baby there. And the couple was paying her on a monthly basis to have this baby, obviously, but they were paying mainly just covering costs, so covering food costs and day-to-day living, nothing extravagant. And then once the baby was born, the couple came and got the baby and took the baby, and they didn't give her any lump sum. So she was expecting a lump sum for having the baby, but in the end this wealthy couple just took the baby and didn't give any particular lump sum. So I think that's a sad story, and when I heard of that happening, like, of course it happens through official routes in the West. There's paperwork, there's documentation, there's legal protection of the parties that are involved. Here it seems to be more random use of people to produce babies under unhealthy conditions, with no legal representation. And that is one sad story that I heard, unfortunately, here from the village. It's not something that is widespread, and that was an isolated story. I'm sure I've got subscribers that know more stories than that, and it is important as well that we don't report on anything that is exaggerated, like this is happening, like there's 10 of them in the village right now that are doing this. This is a very, very isolated incident, and I'm sure you could find some parallels in the West too. The second thing, of course, is organ farming, which we're hearing a lot of now. The myth or the old wives' tale here, whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. And I really don't know, I'm just giving my personal opinion here. This is not fact. The myth is that the Thai children that are being snatched are actually being snatched for a certain country and then used to grow organs for people. Now, obviously people that need transplants, liver transplants, things like that. I have heard of such things happening in North Korea, and that has been reported by some people that defected? Yeah, defected, that came out of North Korea and escaped. I don't know if that's true or not, but certainly around here, people will say protect your children and watch your children because they may be snatched for this particular purpose. But to be honest, I don't believe that at all. And so they were the two, I guess you can call them extreme ideas of living in a rural Thai village, of what may be going on. And I guess they're linked because of poverty. And I think it's somewhat advisable for anybody that's thinking about doing this to not live too close inside a rural village unless you're a particular kind of person. There are benefits to living outside of the village, having some distance between you and the locals, especially if you value your privacy and you value a certain quiet. You can hear, I've done this entire vlog, there's been no barking dogs, no banging music. So, and that's usually the case. This is how it is here. It's quiet. So if you value your privacy and that's important to you, then be on the outskirts of the village, not inside the village. So I hope you found this discussion interesting today. I've tried to share as openly, honestly, and as more importantly, truthfully as I possibly can, fact-checking where possible. And as ever, I appreciate anybody that has more experience on the matter to share their experience below in the comments. Take care, guys.